Hello and welcome to our September 2023 update for our solar system. So, if you've missed any of the previous ones, this is my move and maybe growth of moving from a small little off grid to our full on size. And this is our first full build of the solar setup where we were 100% approved to run. So, basically, this would be phase one of our grid, no, phase one of our ground array. So last month we had just a small savings, but this month it actually pretty much did half of our bill. So last month, I'm just looking at the stats, we went from 2,428 kilowatts that we paid for to this month or this bill, 1,136. So we're about halfway there. So think about that from the production standpoint. The main grid, or sorry, the main ground array produced 1,100 kilowatts. So that saved us roughly $100 or so dollars. So if we break this down, we had a couple of different pieces. So this is our first net metering bill. So it's the first bill where we actually made some. And I don't quite understand. So to recap, I am in Illinois and I'm on the Illinois Shine program. And my bill says net metering AC non TOU. So I'm not even sure what that means, but basically I still had the non-preferred peak hours, but there was only 6. So I think I'm trending in the right direction. Based on my rough napkin 80/20 rule, my kilowatt cost of savings was approximately 15 cents if you add the production and the delivery, because when I produce the solar myself, I'm not paying for delivery. And I was a little surprised that it doesn't look like I'm getting paid for my on-site excess delivery. So I produced 275 over my production. So I produced that over my consumption. And then, but I've used them in the same month. So basically anything I produced during the day extra, I used probably early in the evening. So let's look at the financial breakdown. I only produced an offset of $28, but this month I did an offset of 165, which about equaled the amount of interest on the loan. So just to maybe do a deep dive on that, I paid for approximately a third of the system in the space. So where I live and for my setup, we had the main ground array, which I'll have to do a video on that, and then we're doing ballasted ones in front because I couldn't put anything in front. So those are going to come probably in a payment next month. So from a production standpoint, I'm getting roughly 60% or so of the plan when it's complete. So that means that for the most part, my savings was offset by the cost of the system. And then to maybe do a deeper dive. This is where solar, just gut off my first 2 months, doesn't look like it really works unless you have the subsidies by the federal government. Because the way this looks to me is the system's barely going to break even until I get my subsidy. So it's just something to think about when you look at these. And I know now that I've done this, I'll probably should do an entire episode on the amount of time. The carrying costs are extremely expensive because it just takes in Illinois where I live, I should say, it takes a long time from permit start to permit fee. There was a lot of times where the system frankly worked, but just wasn't able to turn on. So you probably hear my frustration in my July update, right? All right, so what's next on the project? Like I mentioned, we have the ballasted solar panels that's going to add another about 40%. Some of that will be, planned peakage, so it'll go over. I'm putting more solar in than my array, so I'm planning on it hitting times where it can't produce as much as my inverter, but that's a whole separate incident. A whole separate episode, and one that's a limitation of the Illinois Shine program, because where I'm at in this program, I'm only allowed to have a 10K inverter, which is a whole nother project for another inverter, which will come near the end of the year. So when it comes to this bill, I'm still paying more, I think, for electricity than I should. So for my challenge or my homework for my 80/20 for next month will be to look into one of those energy rates where I pay more during the day than I do in the evening, because I think for this particular instance, now that I have got my production up during the day, I could probably handle a few cloudy days where I'm paying more for a kilowatt than I am off shift. So that's what I'm going to look into for next week. So again, permit wise and everything, I am completely finished with the permit side. Everything now is just small tweaks, and as long as it's under a certain amount where I live, I don't have to have a change permit for that. So anyway, that about wraps up my September update of my August production. I know it seems weird, but the bill always comes late. So I'd say, would I do it again at this point based on my first production? I would say yes. I may have paid a little extra for some of the stuff because I didn't want it on my house, and I wanted a ground array, and I wanted a nice one. So that may bite me a little bit in my return on investment side. But I think with the 2 incentive programs, as long as they both come through correctly, and I don't get bit like I did on my EV Illinois credit, which is, I should also do an episode on that. Then I think I would still do it again, because I think even if I break even, I do believe that it is the right thing to do from a environmental perspective. So if you got any questions, throw them in the comments again. And if you've got any tips on or things I should try or look into, I would definitely be happy to talk to somebody or get some ideas, because I do think that these bills are completely, well, frankly, they're confusing, because I have Ameren, Illinois, and really they only do transportation now. And there's so many electric providers and different programs. I think it's pretty confusing. So I would love any feedback in the comments.